David here, and I wanted to talk to you guys about losing a loved one. About 3 weeks ago, my younger brother died in a motorcycle accident. Um, I took him to test ride a bike that he found on Craigslist, which he's wanted to buy. He's actually had this bike a few years ago, so he knew the bike inside out. And while he was test riding this bike, some you know he felt like there was something wrong because it took him a little bit too long. It was 5 minutes went by, and he should have been back. Realized something was wrong, and when I was just had this like terrible feeling in my stomach, and this kid runs up to me, my friend Paul, and the owner of the motorcycle. We were standing in the apartment complex parking lot, waiting for Mark to come back, and he told us that somebody crashed on a motorcycle about a quarter mile away from here, and there's police cars and a fire truck and ambulances, and he thinks it could be bad. And he was kind of hysterical when he said this. He was laughing in a way that scared me, to the point that, you know, to the point of me jumping in the car and driving as fast as I could possibly go until I got to the scene, until I couldn't go any faster, and until I couldn't go any further. I jumped out of the car after I parked it and ran as fast as I could to the ambulance. I'll never forget that day. The police officers wouldn't let me close to my brother while he was dying. He was laying on the ground, and they couldn't save him. I waited for hours, it seemed, outside across the street, as close as I could get to him, looking in his direction, just hoping he was going to be okay, because they didn't tell me anything. The whole time I was waiting there between 7 o'clock at night until maybe about 9 or 10 o'clock, and I just waited for them to say something, anything at all. And eventually they came up to me, one of the police officers, and said, "I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not looking good." At that moment, I was just so shocked that I just I didn't want to believe him. I guess it was impossible to believe what he was saying, even though they didn't say anything definite, until another officer came up to me about a minute or two later, and she apologized to me. She said, "I'm sorry, but your brother did not make it." And when I heard these words, my heart just shattered into pieces. I mean, for the last 18 years of his life, I was close with him. When he was a baby, I helped change his diaper, take care of him, feed him. And when he grew up and he wanted to move out, I moved out with him. I helped him to grow, to be successful, to get where he was. He was happy. He had a good life. And I just couldn't believe that my brother was gone. It was unbelievable. I literally couldn't believe it. I still have trouble believing it sometimes. This is somebody I saw every single day. We lived together, got our own house in Portland. We moved to Washington not too long ago. And it just feels like everything fell apart once he left. Like all my dreams were his dreams too. We planned just about everything together. And to be there when he died, to witness everything. To be the one to call my parents. The police officers wouldn't even let me call my parents. They asked for the phone number and said they're gonna have professionals call them, but I couldn't let them do that. I snuck away for long enough to call my dad and tell him what happened. And this was the hardest thing I ever had to do. My dad wouldn't believe me when I called him, when I talked to him. He told me to stop kidding around. He didn't know how I was going to tell my mom. I told him I was gonna tell her, but he told himself. I think that's better. I wouldn't be able to handle that. You know, they say the worst thing somebody can see is their father crying. I finally witnessed that for the first time. And when my father sat next to me and cried, it was the next most unbelievable thing. It's like the whole world just fell apart 2 times. Like, your father is the most stable thing in your life sometimes, and when you see him break down, you don't know how you're not supposed to break down yourself. You see that everybody is weak. I know Mark would want me to be strong out of all people, but I might be coping with this the worst. It's not easy for me. And I mean, this is something I could have never imagined. Me and Mark talked about it, who's gonna die first. And I always figured it's me. It's You just can't believe it. He's gone one day and then he's just gone. It's unbelievable. Somebody who's so full of life. Somebody who's so spontaneous. Somebody who I, as an older brother, looked up to. He just turned 18. And I'm 23. And I still look up to him. It's just impossible to believe this. Like, my whole life is shattered. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how to go on. It's just, everything seems so empty. No matter what I have, it's never gonna be the same without him. My brother was like everything to me, the closest person I've ever been to, the one person who always understood me throughout my life. While I sat in jail for 1 year for driving a suspended license case, my brother was there every step of the way, writing me letters, talking to me on the phone, coming to visit me every chance that he got. I just can't believe it. This one person who's always there for me is gone. So I find myself thinking, like, there's nobody here for me anymore, and I'm on my own. And if Mark knew it was this way, he would be happy if I was strong, if it didn't faze me for so long. And it's been 3 weeks and I'm not even close to being over it. I don't know if this is something I could ever get over. It's even hard for me to believe it, let alone try to forget about it. I wish I knew how to fix it, how to help my parents feel better, my family. I have to find the strength somewhere. And Mark had the strength. He would be able to tell me what to do if he was here. But I can't look for advice from him anymore. That's what makes me fall apart the most. Just how much he meant to me and how much everything he said meant the world to me. And without him there, without his opinions, I almost feel like I don't know what's right and what's wrong. Just that how I choose.